That's really interesting, David. But I've heard many folks say they don't feed their fish in the winter at all. Is that a bad idea?
To my mind, I think that's a terrible idea. Yes. I mean, as we saw on the graph earlier, the metabolic rate drops with water temperature, but it doesn't go down to zero. If the fish's metabolic rate is zero, it's dead. So they've still got a metabolic requirement throughout the winter. It's just a fraction of what it was in the summer. So the fish is still active, but nowhere near as active. So they're going to still need fuel to fuel those bodily processes. And if we're not supplying that fuel in the food, then the fish will start raiding its fat reserves. And as it's raiding those fat reserves, it's going to lose condition, and that can then start to become stressful to the fish, which can then make them more susceptible to bacterial, viral, fungal, parasitic infections that are going to be present in the pond anyway, as part of the normal fauna in the pond. And that's just going to mean that the fish loses condition throughout the winter. Carp anglers will go winter carp fishing, and they're then luring the fish in with food. So that's telling us that fish will still feed throughout the winter. We can go and analyze, go and look at gut contents analysis in fisheries in the winter, and the fish will still be feeding. There's been studies that are then looking at how fish aggregate in the winter in much larger ponds and lakes and things, and seeing that they will still aggregate around food sources, and the fish just sort of come a lot closer and they don't move around anywhere near as much. But there is still a feeding going on. The cooler the water gets, the less food there is, but the fish will still, they will still prefer to feed if there's food available, though they have adapted to there being no food. But that adaptation comes at a particular cost to them. But to get, after every winter, there follows a spring. So as the water temperatures have been declining throughout the beginning of winter, they're going to start rising as we come back up out of spring. And that then is a really challenging time for the fish, because they need to be increasing their metabolic rate, and that takes energy. Where's that energy going to come from if we're not feeding them? It's going to carry on coming from fat reserves. So those fish are just going to keep losing condition, getting more stressed, and then we get to the spring, and that then becomes a really challenging time for the fish.